Vowing is a dramatic novel set in the Australian outback that follows the personal journey of a young woman called Neve. She's 17 years old, and it follows her journey with anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, and her personal journey to deal with trauma from her past, set against the backdrop of a current foreign invasion that's taking place in Australia. The writing process for me I find really exciting. Most of my stories begin as the seed of an idea, and it plays like a film script or a film reel, a movie through my mind. And often I'll just see one or two key scenes, and then as I sit down and start to write those scenes, explore the characters, what's led to that part of the story, what's led to that potential crisis or drama that I've seen in this single movie reel or film strip. As I explore those ideas, the story just kind of starts running on its own and takes me away with it. It's a really exciting process to go through, so I often feel like I'm experiencing this movie myself for the first time as I write the story. So I don't have a lot of going back and forth and rewriting things. Obviously there's an editing process that any writer goes through, but I often find that I write the story as a movie, as it's playing out, as I see it in my mind. So it's a really exciting, wonderful process. And so with Eden, it started like that. I can't remember, it was either a dream or a vision that I had, this single scene of this lake at the bottom of someone's property in the outback in Australia, and I saw this young woman running and just diving under the water, and she never came back up. And then I saw these Australian soldiers kind of pacing around the lake, and there was a woman there, her mother, just watching and waiting. Oh my goodness, what's happened? How long can a woman possibly stay under the water? What's happened? Is this suicide? Has something happened to her there and she can't come up? Has she been knocked unconscious? All these potentials. And I woke up and I had that so vivid in my mind, and I just started to explore it. So this idea of the lake and the water and what can hide beneath these other worlds that can be accessed, or landscapes that we can run to for escape, or to hide from the world around us, or to process and deal with trauma that potentially we may not be able to express verbally to other people in our lives. Those are all ideas and themes that play into the book, and that they were all triggered and started from this one movie scene that I saw of this girl diving into a lake and no one knowing where she'd gone or what had happened to her. Growing up, one of the favourite book series that I remember reading was a series called Tomorrow When the War Began, written by John Marsden. And it's a similar story set in Australia during a time of a foreign invasion and potential war. And so that book I remember that book really had an impact on me as I think it was about 11 or 12 when I read it, and it really had an impact on me, and it stuck with me all through these years. And I've often thought I'd love to read another series similar to that, but set in the contemporary era, so set in our current context with crises and issues that are real to us today. And what really struck me with that book is this idea of war and conflict coming to our region, to Australia and New Zealand. Growing up, it was such a foreign idea, such a foreign concept, and that sort of global national crisis was something that we had never really experienced. So this idea that it could actually come to our shores was really intriguing to me, and the characters that John Marsden developed were so relatable, and this community, close network group of friends that he forged through the story, through this time of crisis and drama, just really spoke to me, and it's something that's always stuck with me, and it's something that I've always aspired to create. I try not to hedge my stories into a specific genre or age bracket, and I've always had this belief that if your story is rich enough and deals with a key part of the human experience or the human condition, then it should relate across the board. So I try not to limit my books to a specific age bracket, but generally most of them probably would fit into a young adult, a YA / crossover novel. If you really wanted to put them in a genre, they're always high drama, high stakes. There's often a global or national crisis involved in the setting somewhere. That's my background. I come from a background of international politics, and so I've worked in the humanitarian sector, and it's something that I'm still very passionate about. So these global crises often play into my stories, and then I like to look at the personal level, how individuals then walk through these crises and how they process these broader crises against the canvas of their own lives and the individual level conflicts and traumas and dramas that can be going on in their lives at the same time. So I like to juxtapose those grander, more expansive crises alongside personal journeys. Eden is actually a very personal story for me. About 9 months into writing the story, my mum was diagnosed with a serious illness. This is something that Neve herself, the lead character, goes through. So I was already writing this character's story when suddenly a very similar crisis happened in my own family. And so, to be honest, for a good 12 to 18 months, I actually just had to put the story down, leave the book aside, mostly because I was focused on walking through the journey with my mum and helping take care of her through treatments and post-surgery recovery, things like that. But also I just didn't have the emotional strength to be dealing with this story. Suddenly the story became very real, very raw and very personal, and so I just had to put it down for a season. But it allowed me to really explore and experience personally a lot of these issues that Neve herself has to face and deal with, like anxiety, fears, different insecurities, different stresses and pressures on her life, and how she copes and manages with that personal level crisis against the backdrop of this national crisis of the foreign invasion going on in Australia.